Hey, welcome to this episode of Ask Amy. Today, my guest is Nguyen of Pusch and Nguyen Injury Lawyers. Thanks so much for coming on today.
Thank you for having me, Amy.
Yeah, so we're talking about car accidents, and I invited you, sort of an expert in that area. You've probably seen their billboards all around the Houston area. Pusch and Nguyen Injury Attorneys. That is you. You're Nguyen.
Yes, ma'am.
I'm somewhat intrigued by your marketing. Well, very intrigued by your marketing. When I started seeing your signs years ago, I'm like, oh my gosh, like how the heck did that happen? And that's super smart. They'll usually have like billboards on both sides of the freeway that kind of go together. But you had a funny story as to how Pusch and Nguyen came together.
Oh, well, the people ask that all the time. They ask me and my partner, how do we meet and how do we form the law firm? And the truth is we met in law school. Mm-hmm. We decided we were going to open up our own firm together. We knew that we couldn't work for anybody. We knew that we didn't want to work for anybody, and we wanted to work for ourselves. So it just happened while we were studying for the finals in the library. During study breaks, you just talk about the future. And there was never even an argument about whose name goes first or anything like that.
I mean, who recognized that first, that your names together were Pusch and Nguyen? Who said, hey, wait, that's genius?
We didn't even recognize it. I can't remember the judge that mentioned it. We were at the courthouse. And it was for our first year out, and a judge asked us, what's the name of y'all's law firm? And we go, Pusch and Nguyen Law Firm. And she goes, Pusch and Nguyen. That's really good. So
you hadn't already said, hey, let's have billboards and use this?
No, not yet. No.
Oh, wow.
No, that happens a little later on, about 2 years ago.
Okay.
So from there, we're like, oh man, we didn't even think of that. And so we started thinking of slogans. And, in the beginning, we're just in our office. We shared a 250 square foot office together. We would race to the office. Whoever gets to the office first gets the table. One table. Yeah, the other person gets the couch.
Yeah.
So while we would sit there and ponder different slogans, we were like, all right, the original one was, when push comes to shove, all we do is win.
Oh.
That was our original one.
That's good. It's a bit longer, right?
Exactly. And so we kind of switched it whenever we decided to go for, okay, let's start the real branding campaign. Because the first 5 years of our career, 6 years of our career, we didn't really do any branding marketing. We did lead gen marketing, which is it did well for us, but it wasn't capitalizing on what we had, which was the unique name and then to be unique slogan. Yeah.
Well, we like it. It got my attention. I appreciate you. This isn't the first time that you've talked to me for stories about car-related issues when it comes to consumers. I mean, it seems like I'm hearing from family members, co-workers, viewers, a lot more about people getting in car accidents and then having issues with, they file claims and they just can't get any answers. They don't even hear back. It's like they're being ghosted by the at-fault driver's insurance. And I'm like, well, they can't do that. That's not, sure, they're going to try to do that, but legally they can't do that.
Yeah.
Do you hear about these same things?
That's the majority of our clients that come and call us. Unfortunately, I'd say about 50% of the clients that call us, they call us because the insurance company, the at-fault insurance company for the driver that hit them is not responding to their calls, responding to their emails, responding to their messages. And so they give us a call and they tell us what's going on, and usually that's when we'll step in.
Yeah. And, and I tell you, like before you came in, Chi, I'm like, okay, so we're calling on you because you're the expert. We know that people could call you. Obviously people think like, hey, I pay my monthly premiums. I do what I'm supposed to do. So I should be able to kind of somewhat help myself in this. So the answers that you're giving us today is what people can do to try to make the process work and help themselves. Obviously, there are attorneys like yourself that if that goes way off and they can't get any resolution, then that's why you're in business. That's what you do.
Exactly.
So let's just, take that scenario. I thought that there was like a deadline. So if I file a claim, somebody hit me, I get the other driver's insurance, I file the claim. Do they have a certain amount of time in which they have to get back to me?
No, the deadline you're talking about is when it involves third parties, when it involves first party insurance claims, meaning first party meaning your insurance policy. They have to get back to you whenever you submit a claim in certain timelines. But when you're dealing with another party who is not contractually obligated to you, that's when there is no real deadlines.
I mean, this sounds crazy because it's in their client and their best interest not to get back to you, but there's nothing in the law that's requiring them to do so.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. The only thing you can really do in that situation is maybe file a report with the Texas Department of Insurance. And maybe if enough complaints come through there, and they'll penalize the insurance company. But for the most part, all insurance companies, their business model is the 3 Ds: deny, delay, and defend. And that it works for them.
Yeah, and explain that. I mean, first they're denying that they have any.
First they'll deny the claim based off of their liability investigation, or they'll deny the claim based off of you could not have been injured from this accident because data shows that you could not be. That's one tactic. Delay is like they're going to push back on your claim first. So every time you're getting in a car accident, there's two sides to a claim. There's the property damage side and there's a bodily injury side. Let's use the bodily injury side, for example. When they delay payment, you're going to go to the ER. You're going to have a $20,000 ER bill. You'll submit that ER bill to them in hoping that they're going to pay it for you.
Right.
With that $20,000 ER bill, they're going to say, no, we think this is only worth $2,500. So we're going to offer you $2,500. They'll use your financial crisis to their advantage. So they're going to delay you. And so hopefully bills are mounting up, so you're going to accept that lowball offer.
Right. And it becomes a financial crisis for yourself because you've got this doctor ER saying you owe us this money. And even if you're saying, I'm still waiting for the other side, for the insurance to pay out, it all falls back on you.
Exactly.
How many people do you think just take the low ball that won't pay the bill?
I don't have any numbers, but it has to be a lot of people. Otherwise, this wouldn't be a implemented tactic across the entire industry. And people lawyers like myself, we wouldn't have this business. Right,
you wouldn't have so many people to represent. Exactly. Okay, so deny, delay, and then defend. And then the defend part comes in if this person is like, okay, well, I can't pay the $20,000 ER bill or pay to, replace my car with what you've offered me. So then they feel like they've got to call an attorney. And that's what you mean by the defend part?
The defend part means when they defend it, that means they've denied it, or they've said, no, this is the lowball offer that we're going to give you, and that's it. They're going to say, what are you going to do about it? They know you can't do anything about it, so what do you have to ultimately do? It's only a lawyer that can hold them accountable, and that goes across not just car accidents, that goes across any industry. It's always the personal injury lawyer that is the only one that holds them accountable, these corporations, because they only care about money. Yeah, and in almost any consumer story that we do, I mean, when it comes down to what you can do, I mean, people don't like to hear that, but it's like, well, the law says blah, blah, blah. The law says that they are liable for this much in damages, and people are like, okay, how can I get that? And it's like, well, you got to sue them. Exactly. They have a responsibility to do what they're contractually obligated to do. The law says they have that responsibility, but it's us as lawyers, we're the only ones that can hold them accountable. Because there's no state agency saying, hey, I mean, we'll talk about the Texas Department of Insurance when we come back. Also, I want to talk about when you get into a car accident, best practices, things that everybody should be doing to try to prevent something like this from happening when you do go to file that claim. We're going to take a quick break and we'll be right back. Welcome back to this episode of Ask Amy. Today we're talking about car insurance. Sorry, no, we're not. Stop. I mean, we are, but we're talking about car accidents. Can I just start over, Cassandra? 3, 2, 1. Welcome back to this episode of Ask Amy. Today we're talking about car accidents and insurance claims. It can be an infuriating process if you feel like you're paying your premiums and it's not cheap, doing everything you're supposed to do, and then you get into an accident with someone else and their insurance isn't doing the right thing. They're not fixing your car or calling you back about your claims. So, Nguyen with Pusch and Nguyen Injury Attorneys, tell me best practices. I get into a car accident, maybe it's been 20 years since that's happened, or I've never been in an accident. What do you do at the scene? Somebody else hits you, or you hit somebody, but let's just assume someone hits you. What are the things I should be doing in that moment? First, Amy, whenever you're involved in an accident, make sure everything, you're okay. Make sure you're not hurt, go check on the other driver and see if they're hurt. And if everybody's okay, try to move to a safer location, because the traffic, it's extremely dangerous. Always put your safety in your own hands. Don't rely on everybody else to obey the rules. Otherwise, you wouldn't even be in a car accident.
Right, yeah.
So it's always important to make sure you're in a safe place. So
before you're trying to exchange information. Yeah.
Before you do anything, make sure you're safe. And then from there, you'll take pictures of the damage, talk to the other driver, see if they're going, are they going to be disputing what happened, whether or not they're going to accept liability for fault for the accident or not. But anyways, just call the police and have the police come. Usually right now, the wait times are pretty slow right now, but you have to be patient. It's very important for you to file that police report. Okay,
so you call the police, and being realistic, I mean, a lot of times it could be, you know, an hour or more, and say this other driver's not waiting there at the scene. They seem like they're going to be cooperative. You know, they've given you their insurance information. But what else do I need to get from them, like right then? Like, what other information should I gather?
Try to get a picture of their driver's license, a picture of their insurance policy, obviously the pictures of all the damage to both cars, and you would just that's the only duty they have, is just to exchange insurance information. The other driver doesn't have to stay there.
Okay.
So that's why it's very important for you to file that police report, whether they stay there or not.
And you should stay there. You really think that if I'm the one whose car was damaged, I should try to wait out and get the police to come?
You should always try to wait it out for the police to come, but if it takes too long, there's always the option of going to the police station, the closest one, and filing a police report or a crash report.
And that's important for the whole claims process. Tell me about that.
Yes, because generally whenever you file a claim for the insurance company, they're never going to accept liability until they either, one, see the crash report and it talks about, the police report says who's been determined at fault, or two, the other driver does the right thing and admits fault.
Yeah.
Otherwise, they're not going to move forward with processing your claim.
I mean, here's the problem with that, which I'm sure you realize, is so say I couldn't get an officer to respond to the scene, so we waited, and then the other driver left. I eventually left, and I go to the police department and file the report. Is there really any sort of crash investigation where an officer is ever going to say in that report who is at fault?
No, unfortunately, in that situation, no. They're only going to take your statement on what happened, and there's not really a determination. And even at that, when there is a determination of who's at fault on a crash report, the insurance company doesn't necessarily accept that. Sometimes they're going to say, no, we're going to side with what our insured said, even though let's say, for example, it's a rear-end collision. And 9 times out of 10, it's the person in the back is at fault for the rear-end collision. But for whatever reason, sometimes these insurance companies deny, delay, and defend those claims. Right.
So what if I get into a car accident, the other person does not have insurance, but they miraculously stop? I mean, it's not a hit and run. Like, they stop, but they don't have insurance.
Yeah.
What information should I be gathering then?
There's not really any information to get there, but it's still important for you to file a crash report, because you're going to really need that to file a claim if you have uninsured motorist coverage.
Okay.
Usually the uninsured motorist coverage, they're going to want a crash report to prove that you were in an accident. You didn't just hit somebody, or you're just trying to commit insurance fraud.
And get my car fixed.
Exactly.
Got it. I had seen before that if they don't have insurance, but they do stop, then you should ask the other driver if you can get a picture or get the VIN of the vehicle that they're in. Could that be helpful?
That would be helpful in substantiating your claim with your own insurance company, because they want to prove that, yes, you were actually involved in an accident with somebody else. So that's where it would be important.
I mean, I haven't heard of many cases where it's a hit and run and the insurance company doesn't pay out at all. But I do hear of plenty hit and run accidents. I mean, and then I'm totally relying on my own insurance and uninsured motorist.
Uninsured motorist coverage, yes.
Yeah, so tell me about that, because it seems like that would be used quite a lot these days. It feels like there are a lot of drivers out there without insurance.
And that's actually very true. The statistics shown that the amount of uninsured drivers typically, let me go back. Typically, whenever the economy is doing very well, the rate of uninsured drivers decreases. This is what we saw from 2017 leading up to 2020. The rate of uninsured drivers was decreasing. But since 2020 to 2024, it has been steadily increasing from 11.3% of drivers to now 14.3% amount of people that are uninsured.
Yeah.
So that's 1 out of 7 drivers are uninsured in Houston.
Yeah, I mean, and it makes sense, right? If you're looking at your bills and you're looking like, okay, well, I have to afford food, so this is going to, even though this is the law, this is going to have to.
Exactly, and unfortunately, that people are going to have to make that decision, and that, you know, their basic necessities come first.
Yeah, I want to talk about, when we come back, I want to talk about inflation and the cost of car insurance. You've gotten some information, some research and insight into that and why it's costing so much more these days. And then we'll talk about sort of the process of what you do when they ghost you, when they just don't call you back at all in the Texas Department of Insurance. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Ask Amy. Today we're talking with Nguyen, an ambulance chaser in Houston. I kid, but certainly you've heard that before.
Absolutely.
I mean, so attorneys get a bad rap, but I wanted to talk about this because we were leading into the cost of insurance. And you know, when we talk about why rates have gotten so high, why it's so difficult to afford just your premiums, you say the insurance companies usually blame you.
Absolutely.
Why? I mean, tell me about that.
If the reason the insurance companies always blame us is because it's personal injury lawyers are the only ones that can really hold them accountable. Corporations only change their behavior when you hit them in their pockets, and we are the ones that do that. So of course, knowing that, the insurance industry, they'll always lobby and get out into the media that they're the ones that coined the term ambulance chasers.
Oh.
They coined it, and it just hit. When you use the term so often, it gets ingrained in people's minds, and they understand that.
It sticks.
It's basic psychology.
Yeah. So, but then tell us, because we covered homeowners insurance a lot, but a lot of times people have their homeowners and their auto bundled. Both of them are going up a lot. But I mean, even during the years where it seemed like nobody was driving in the pandemic, they say, oh, well, we're paying out more in claims, and you know, it's more expensive to repair cars. I mean, you have some data that shows at least the frequency of claims.
Yep. So what's going on right now is I already noticed the push in the media talking about the raising increase in insurance rates, and they're blaming lawyers for it. And how they attribute it to lawyers is they see that the ad spend for lawyers in legal marketing has increased significantly since 2020 until now. But what they're not looking at is the claims frequency. If marketing was increasing and it was causing more claims, you would see claims frequency go up. But the trend has been downward trending since, let's say, start from 2020 till now. It's been downward trending. What has gone up is the claim severity, which is based off of the dollar amount that they have to pay out per claim.
So fewer people are filing claims after accidents saying, you know, my car was damaged, we need to pay out, but it costs more. I have heard that, like, oh, because when you crack your windshield or you know, do some damage, the way cars are made now with all this technology, then you know, you can't just fix a crack. You got to replace the whole thing, and then that's tied into other electronics in the vehicle.
Exactly. So it goes back to the fundamental issue of inflation. It goes back to inflation when the cost to repair cars, the parts cost more, the labor costs more, replacing the actual car costs more. You also have to look at the crime rates. Crime rates across the entire country, and they'll usually base it off cities and regions. That's how your rates are calculated. The amount of crime that's involved there, because stolen vehicles, people don't pay attention to that. But also look at climate change. The amount of hailstorms from 2022 was, I believe, around 4,500 hailstorms across the country, and in 2023 there was over 6,900 hailstorms.
And that's a common reason why people have to file claims.
Exactly. And so State Farm, there was a difference in $1 billion in lost claims from 2022 to 2023.
Wow.
Just with State Farm alone.
Crazy. We often hear in these instances that we sort of started this segment with is that when you get in the car accident, say the other driver does stop, exchanges information, you know, you file the claim, and then you're waiting and waiting and waiting, that people say, or the other insurance says, well, yeah, just file with your insurance company, and they say, oh, and then, you know, they'll come after us. They'll subrogation, and But is that ever really happening, where they're actually going after the other insurance company to make that money back? Because you're like, why should mine pay out? I didn't do anything wrong.
Typically, in my experience, I haven't seen insurance companies really pursue that. Because usually when they pursue when they go to subrogate from the other insurance company, they're also, what they do is subrogate for the deductible that you had to pay. So they'll usually pay back your deductible. So if you ever get your deductible paid back, that means they actually subrogated it.
Okay, but if you don't, that means they either weren't successful or they didn't try.
Exactly.
If we could circle back real quick to that, basically when they just ghost you, we had said that their obligation, the other driver's insurance company, their obligation is to that other driver.
Correct.
But we're hearing that the common complaint that they tell you when they call you is, like why they haven't sent an adjuster or why they're not taking any action on your claim is that, oh, we can't get in touch with our customer. We can't get in touch with the other driver. And you'd think like, so? Like, I mean, I have a copy of his driver's license. I have a picture of his vehicle. But, I mean, that is a legitimate, legal rationale.
Exactly. So that is one of their little tactics that they do to delay a claim. So in everybody's insurance policy, you have a clause where you have to cooperate with the investigation of any claim with your own insurance company. So they're usually going to say, I can't reach out to we haven't heard back from our insured, we can't get their side of the story, that's why we haven't been able to move forward. So contractually, that is why they have no contractual obligation to you as the third party.
Yeah.
They use that loophole to whether or not they actually were able to reach out to their client or they're insured or not. That I don't know.
So in those instances, what would you tell your sister, who doesn't necessarily want to file a lawsuit, but what would you tell her to do if that happened to her?
I would tell her to make sure you document every communication that you have. Make sure you get the names of every person you do it, the dates, the times that you spoke to them, what was said in those conversations, and that way you have a log of communications that you can submit to the Texas Department of Insurance if and when you decide to file a complaint. Yeah,
if you file a complaint with them, it's all. Very frustrating.
Absolutely.
And is this, anything that you see legislators addressing? Do you see any changes that could be happening sort of on the auto insurance landscape? Or have you heard of anything?
I don't think I've heard of anything changing in the auto insurance landscape. I know that there's 22 states that actually require everyone to carry uninsured motorist coverage. Texas is not one of them. I would encourage everybody to, if you can afford it, it's not even a luxury to have uninsured motorist coverage anymore. It's really a necessity if 1 in 7 drivers are uninsured. Right. Yeah. Definitely. Well, I appreciate your help talking with us. We're going to put all of this information online on clicktohouston.com, like the links for TDI and the information about, filing claims with your insurance company and what you should ask for there at the scene, like the information that you need to get before that other person goes away. Thanks so much for coming in and talking with us today. Thank you for having me, Amy. All right, everybody. I hope you have a great day.